Here we are,
Hello.
Dcentral,
Dcentral.
Miami.
Miami. The second
Baritone,
time. Baritone
tone
voice.
sexy. And how do you get that?
Oh, you just have to take a red-eye flight that is 2.5 hours delayed and arrive here a couple hours ago, and you will sound like this.
Okay, cool. Jonathan is flying in from Seattle.
That is correct.
West coast up to the tip bottom of the East Coast.
There you go. Yeah.
And so they're probably one of the longest flights to travel. Why did you come to Dcentral, Jonathan?
So I've known Justin Wu since I got into crypto in 2017. He's actually from Seattle also. We've done a handful of events together or supported each other. And I just think he does a really good job. Him and his team do a really, really good job of putting on events, of talking to, bringing the right people in, having the right topics. No shilling. They just do such a good job. So anything I can do to support Dcentral and Justin and his team, I'm always going to do it.
And before we get into your business, when you look at the environment of people that you see here today, if you were to peg the kind of folks that you see here generally, who would those people be?
I think there's a really good collection of people in the sense of, to bring our Web3 lingo here, right? You see some builders, lots of really good builders here. You see investors here. You see people who are marketers, growth folks. I think there's a really good combination. So that's one of the things I like about this event is I think often when you go to an event, it'll be only builders or only devs or only investors, where I think here there really is something for everybody to get what they're looking for out of the event. And so that's why I really enjoy coming to Miami, and it also helps that it's a lot warmer here than it is in Seattle right now.
Yeah, so we'll see a lot of people from New York, right, and Boston and New Jersey. NFT Mint.
Yep, Niftmint.
Niftmint.
Yep.
Niftmint. What is Niftmint?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So what we do at Niftmint is we are NFT commerce infrastructure for brands. That's a fancy way of saying we allow and support brands to be able to mint, sell, and custody NFTs directly on their existing e-commerce platform while abstracting the cryptocurrency. So no brand that works with us has to have their own crypto wallet. They don't have to have their own cryptocurrency. In fact, a lot of brands have mandates that they're not allowed to own crypto and utilize it. They have to use a third party if they're going to go through that. I want to clarify, we are not a marketplace. We are not a white label. We are embedded software into their e-commerce platform. So most of the e-com platforms, the ones that people are the most familiar with is Shopify, but Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Adobe, Commerce, BigCommerce, which is one of our great partners. These are these are e-com platforms that have massive brands, Fortune 100, 500, 1,000 brands. And so what we do is they each have their own independent marketplaces, like app stores, and we're just a one-click app so that any one of those brands can click that and start creating NFTs with just a couple clicks. They don't need to know smart contracts. They don't need to know any of that. They can do it really quickly and easily.
So, one of the big challenges, and Irene, I'm going to drop it off to you pretty soon because you like the blockchain stuff. But one of the things that we've heard over and over again is that blockchain as an infrastructure is pretty cool, but being able to use it is very difficult.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is making that, it doesn't matter. I mean, just one click and you've got your NFT minted.
Yep.
But the question is, the big brands and the big companies that you're working with, are they minting and creating NFTs just because there's a lot of hype around NFTs, or is there a real commercial reason for this?
I'm so glad you asked this question. So our belief system is that the majority of NFT drops that brands have done is actually the incorrect way for them to offer NFTs to their customer base. So kind of going straight to your question, any brand that is doing a 10,000 drop trying to emulate a Bored Ape or CryptoPunk type of meteoric rise, we believe is doing it wrong. Now, have there been brands that have done that and had some success? I think Nike is a great example, but in reality, like, they didn't really do it. Artifact did it, right? And then they acquired Artifact. And now NFTs is a really big part of their overall strategy. But if you think about how Nike is offering these NFTs, it's basically adjacent to their customer base and who they're offering this to. So I think Nike's doing a really good job. That being said, we don't see the majority of brands offering NFTs to their consumer bases the same way that we see this from some of these projects that you see here. Because when you think about what an NFT really is, it's simply just a better JPEG. And people always get kind of weirded out when I say that, but it's a programmable JPEG. So if the only benefit that we get from NFTs is the fact that now we have programmable content files, we actually see this as a win, because now you have digital files or digital content that can't be replicated, right? So when brands offer products, physical goods, they don't want knockoffs. Why would they want knockoffs of digital goods? So if a brand is able to offer NFTs to their consumer base and not think of them as NFTs, simply these are digital products, we see that as a win. We think that the brands that are going to be the most successful with NFTs are going to be the ones that don't call them NFTs, that simply offer digital experiences and digital products to their customer bases, because we all buy products from the brands that we love because we love the brand.
Give me an example of what a digital experience from Nike would look like.
From Nike, I think is really interesting. Again, I think Nike's audience is very crypto adjacent, meaning Nike is a youthful brand. Even though it's a brand that's 50 plus years old, it's a very youthful brand. When they offer, say, any one of their shoes, so sorry, let me take a step back. We see a world where basically anything that's physical has a digital equivalent to it. Think of it like a receipt, etc. Not that Nike's doing that yet. I see them doing that soon, because even outside of the NFT context, when you get a pair of Jordans or you get a shoe drop, they actually give you like this really cool, PDF or PNG that says "got 'em," and a picture of the shoes. So why not have that be an NFT, for example? But what they're doing, for example, with their CloneX and the I can't remember what the shoes are off the top of my head, but the crypto kicks, etc. That unlocks access to be able to get the physical pairs. That unlocks access to be able to get the physical units as well when it comes to like the sweatshirts that they just released, for example. Starbucks is another example where they haven't quite done anything just yet publicly, but they've announced what they're going to be doing. They're going to be giving away NFTs as a loyalty mechanism. So when a customer purchases enough coffee, they might get an NFT, or when they visit a particular location, they might get an NFT.
That was where I was going with my next question. I'm glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
Okay, here's the thing. I noticed from your bio you are familiar with, experienced, and you mentioned Starbucks and you mentioned the loyalty program. And I want to tie NFTs, loyalty, and currency. I want to tie all of that together. If we look at the rewards programs that have been archaic, you flew here and had a 2-hour delay, they gave you some extra points on United or whatever.
Yeah.
How can we use that? How do we create an environment for NFTs to take over the loyalty rewards program?
Yeah, I don't know that it necessarily means that it takes over, but definitely a complementary factor. If you're a legacy brand, or if you're a brand in general, one of the most difficult things for you to do is to switch your POS system, to switch your e-commerce platform, to switch your payment network, to switch your loyalty network. You just don't want to do it because you're so invested in how that system, even if it's a pain, even if you hate it, you're just so invested. So we really think that NFTs can be integrated or be a part of loyalty, not necessarily replace loyalty, but be a part of loyalty. Maybe one day it replaces loyalty altogether. We don't see that at this immediate time, but definitely as a complement. And so again, in Starbucks' context or any company's context, if your customers love you and you want to reward them and thank them, you can give them a mug, you can give them a t-shirt. Hey, thank you for shopping here. Here's some perfume. Or you can give them a digital equivalent. Here's a digital product. So you could give them a PNG, you could give them a JPEG, which then you and I could just copy and send them out to anybody we want. Or you can give them an NFT. And again, the customer doesn't necessarily need to know that. And then when it comes to what does that unlock, that's simply a branding and marketing decision.
Right.
That's the marketer just gets to say like, hey, we want to make sure that anybody that has this NFT gets free coffee for a year or gets to go on a trip. Now that's strictly a marketing decision. From a tech perspective, it's just, one of the things I love to say, and I don't know how you get quoted in Google when you index, I'm just kidding, but is we're basically at the point now in a lot of Web3 and crypto technology where that crypto tech is better than the incumbent tech. So for example, Bitcoin Lightning Network and payment infrastructure is arguably, and it's actually even been said by some bankers, better than Swift. I believe that NFTs are better technology than JPEGs and PNGs. So, I'm just really excited for what the future holds, and I think that the way the public understands NFTs today because of the hype cycle is just the most minimum tip of the iceberg to the potential of what we're working with.
There is an area of NFTs that I'm really interested in how it's going to completely transform it, and that is ticketing.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, ticketing is really interesting. So I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of people talk about NFTs with like this notion of royalties and secondary market activity. And my thought process on that is always, don't introduce secondary market activity if it's not native to your brand. So meaning like if you sell, I don't know, so Nike shoes do have a secondary market activity, but I don't think that K-Swiss shoes have a secondary market activity. So don't introduce a secondary market if you're NFT, or sorry, if you're K-Swiss. The reason I bring all that context up is because in the ticketing market there is tremendous secondary market activity, right? Like if you're lucky enough to buy tickets to Taylor Swift at the drop of the tickets, you might get it for a couple $100. Other than that, you're paying thousands of dollars, and Taylor Swift doesn't get to participate in any of that, for example. Just the ticket resellers do. So I think secondary markets or having royalties for tickets make a lot of sense. I don't think royalties make a lot of sense for a lot of physical products, personally. Because again, it's how native is it to how you run your business. The other reason I think ticketing is really interesting from an NFT context is simply the evolution of the ticket stub.
Yeah.
I remember my parents' friends. They had a friend that would always mention how they were at Woodstock, and no one ever believed that they were at Woodstock, right? But they always talk about being at Woodstock. Imagine having your Woodstock NFT for being there, and then even just the most basic. So hey, we're all at Dcentral Con. Why don't we just have a memento NFT, which by the way, we have an events NFT product that we do, which is more of a giveaway.
Right.
And it's just simply like, hey, like this is a memento, a recollection. Is this NFT worth anything? Maybe, probably not though. And, but does this get to be part of something that lives in your wallet that you get to go back on and look at and see what you've done, you've experienced? I think there's value in that. It doesn't have to be, how do I make money because I have this NFT? It's, what is my personal value? How do I remember this? How do I enjoy this, etc.?
So the question is, I have to wonder, for a long time, we tried to find a reason to have an NFT. And then obviously if there's a reason to have an NFT, you attach some sort of revenue model to it. With the change in the economic environment, NFTs and crypto that's happened over the last 12 months, which I think will continue for another 6 months at least, 6 to 12 months. Talk to us about the creation, and I think you touched on it, of the underlying technologies that have helped create NFTs move from the ordinary JPEG to the smart contracts, where there's real utility. And as you look at the development of that infrastructure, the coding infrastructure, what do you envision seeing over the next 24 months happening with the...
Yeah, so if we remember, so an NFT is a non-fungible token, right? So meaning one of, likely, you wouldn't interchange it with something else as opposed to fungible being something that you interchange with. I wasn't with the people who created the NFT standard, but I'd like to think when they created the NFT standard, they were like, oh my gosh, I have this problem that I want to create PFP avatars, and if I only created this token standard, I could create PFP avatars and sell them. That wasn't the use case, right? It was, there needs to be something for a single token, not multiple interchangeable tokens. Why that's important is because, as with a lot of technology or early technology, you can have like this hammer looking for nails context. And I think if we always look for how does tech make money, that's when you do that, right? Like, oh, how do I make money doing this? How does this exact tech relate to this technology producing more revenue, more profit, et cetera? In CPG or in traditional retail, you have the notion of loss leaders, and you have the notion of like blue sky and these sorts of things. So if we think of, if we even think of NFTs simply as a loss leader, hey, like how does NFTs show that I am innovative? How does NFTs show that we are thinking in a crypto context? How does NFTs show that, we care about just giving a simple gift to the user? Again, we see that as valuable. We see that as valuable overall. We don't think it has to be strictly that, for an NFT to be successful, it has to have a resale market and have, wash trading, because frankly, a lot of that stuff is fake, by the way, right? So where I see NFTs going is they're going to be boring. NFTs will be incredibly, incredibly boring, and boring NFTs will rule the world. I believe that everything will be an NFT, everything will be tokenized. You as a consumer will not even realize it or care that it's an NFT. You will just simply see it as its digital equivalent, receipt, digital twin, and you will either want it or not want it based off of your affinity to the experience, the brand, or whoever is issuing it overall.
So it just becomes like part of our subconscious, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Just like how, imagine if we still had to use command line interfaces to,
Sure.
operate inside of the web, right? And we don't even think about that anymore. We don't think about, using hypertext transfer protocol ever when we use it, 100 times a day by just entering domain names into the search bar. I see it's very similar when it comes to how we think about NFTs, and I just think that in the next, call it 5 or 6 years, most people will be interacting with NFTs every single day and just
not even know it.
And never know it.
So before we close out, Jonathan, what would you like the audience to take away from this podcast? Name, company name, why should they should talk to you?
Yeah.
And what a great podcast session it was with you.
This actually has been a very lovely experience. We do podcasting ourselves, and coordinating it can be a total pain. And it was just really nice, the emails and the coordination. And so I'm really thankful for that. And this has been a really good experience overall. So I wish you all success with what you're doing. As far as Niftmint goes, and what we really want people to know is, we want to be a trusted source of information for you in thinking about how to integrate Web3 and NFTs into your brand, how you think about it from a commerce perspective. Because our belief system is, for better or worse, and I'm a crypto person as well, most of the information coming from the crypto world on how to operate Web3 for their brand is just bad advice. It's really, really bad advice. It shows people that have not worked with brands before. So you can't go to a brand and say, hey, billion-dollar brand, you've been doing your business wrong. You need to decentralize it and democratize it and have a DAO and introduce all these weird mechanics that no one would ever do if you are a for-profit entity whose whole purpose is to maximize shareholder value. Like you wouldn't do it, right? And build your brand affinity. So we really understand how brands operate because we've been working with brands since 2009. Before we were even in crypto, we've been in early tech with brands since 2014, and we've been working in crypto and brands since 2017. So our whole notion is do your business the way that you know how to do it. Let us just help you create a new brand product vertical that you can now offer and make available and be an extension of how you already do. Because I can't tell you how to build a better Louis Vuitton. I can't tell you how to build a better Gucci. But what I can do is give you the tool sets so that you can build a better Louis Vuitton, so that you can build a better Gucci, doing what you know best with brand and marketing.
Thank you so much for that. And they'll look for you where?
We are at niftmint.com. That's niftmint.com. That's us on social as well. And I'm Jonathan G. Blanco. You can find me on Twitter at JGProduct. And I thank you both so much for the time today.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.